Hello guys, welcome to a new video, and in this video we will learn how to create a very cool CSS navbar. We will only be using HTML and CSS and no jQuery, no bootstrap, nothing. It's just pure HTML and CSS. Now let me show you what we will be creating. So we will creating this thing right here. See that? So here are a few things you should notice. First of all, you see like this big circle that comes out of it, and if you look at it, the speed is not constant. At first it's very fast, then it's slow, and then it's again fast. Let me show you. And look at this nav links. It seems like as if it's coming from inside it. And third thing you should know is you see how right now it is a cross, right? So when I click it, it's this navigation buttons, but when I click it, it's a cross. So we will learn how to create all of these things, and we will do this by using something called CSS input checkbox hack. Now let's start with that. So here I have a basic setup with just a simple HTML page and a link to a style sheet. Now let's get coding. Now first of all, let me create an input tag of type checkbox, and let me give it an ID of checkbox. Simple. We won't be needing the name. Now I will have a label for this input, which is important. Label. Now in this for, I have to write the ID of input. Now you may already know that, but and let me give it a class of button, because eventually it will act as our button. And let me for now let me just call it check input. Small typo right there. Now let me open this with live server. Now the thing that really makes this hack work is that, like, you know, you can click on this input box to check it, right? But that's not necessary. What you can do is also click on the label to check or uncheck it. So we can style this checkbox in any way we want, right? And the good thing is, when this input is checked, we can do various stuffs to other elements around it. Now if you don't understand it, don't worry, I'll show you how it is done, and after that you will completely understand it. Now, so that is what basically we will be doing. So let me start with the styling. So first thing I will do is, so let me at first hide this input checkbox. We will only be needing the label, as it gets the job done. Checkbox display none. Now you should be following along at this point. CHECK. Let me check that. Oh no, sorry, it's ID. My mistake. Okay, that's gone. Now let me create that 3 button thing within it, and let me call it span. Let me create a span, and let me give it a class of bars, as that's what we will be creating. And here I will just have like one space, you know, and for that what we can do is just type NVSP, and that's like it's like just one space. So now let's see if no, there's nothing. Good. Now let's start with styling this checkbox button. So at first what we will do is, so I gave this label or class of button, right? So let's me attach that button. Let me give it a background color of white, then a height of 7 rem, a width of 7 rem, the position will be absolute, and like I will have this source code down below, so if you don't want to follow along, you can just copy and paste the CSS portion of the code, like for right now, but later you need to understand it. Position absolute, top 5.5 rem, then right 3 rem. After that, let me make it a perfect circle. For that, what I will do is have a border radius of 50%, and after that, since I want this to be on top of everything, let me give it a very high jet index value. And after that, I want everything to be on the center of this button, so let's have takes a line of center, and when I hover over it, I want to have a pointer, so simply cursor pointer. Let's see how that looks. Since it is a completely white background, I don't think it will be shown right now, so let me just give our body some color for styling. Yeah, let me give it a background, and I have chosen this color, a hash code of 4FA1FF. Now let me see that. You see, now this is our background and this is our label. Now we have styled it to be like this. Now let me style this span thing to create those three parts. Now I want you to focus on this part because this is very important. I will also be teaching you about the before and after pseudo classes and how you can create those three parts by using these things. So let's as first style these bars. So its position would be relative. So its position will be relative. Let me give it a margin top of 3.5 rem, then a width of 3.5 rem, a height of simply 1 pixels. The background color would be grayish, and the display will be inline block. Now let's see how that looks. You see that one line? So basically what's happening is, since we had the background color of gray, this line seemed to have a color of gray, and we have defined the width and the height, and that's how it basically works. Now let me create the bars that's up and down. So for that, what I can do is bars before, and let's do after at the same time. So now let me have a content property of, now this is really important, you can't miss this, right? Like even though the content is just empty, you need to mention it. Now let me again have the width as above of 3.5 rem, again height same as above of 1 pixels, and again the same thing, background color, display, and let me give it a transition properties because it later goes to the cross, so we can have a good transition on that. All the transition should take on 0.2 seconds. All right, let's see how that looks. It doesn't look because it's right there. Now let me change its position so that we can see it. So now we have to go individually. Bars dot before, it can its top can move 1 rem up. Likewise for bars after, its top can move 1 rem down. Let's see how that looks. Why can't we see this? Why can't I? Okay, I remember we missed the position. All right, position absolute, and just so we can get started, left 0. why aren't we seeing the three lines? I think we should be seeing. Let's see if there is some problem. Oh, this is right. You guys might have already got it. So it's not window, it's width. You see that? Now there are those three lines. Now again, they aren't positioned properly, but we can get around that. So for that, what I will do is have these before and after position of absolute, so that it doesn't fly around, and just give it a left position of 0, so that it will stay in position. See, now there we have those three lines. You see that how we created that? Like this first and second doesn't even exist in HTML. We just created out of CSS. Now let's create this cool black circle that comes out of this white box. Now how we will do this is, at first we will create a small black circle that will be at first hidden behind the white circle, and when we click it, we will scale it to be very, very big, so that it will seem as if it's coming out of the white circle. Now let's do that in CSS. This is our code. I think you are here right now. Nothing happens. So let's start with creating that background. So I mean, it's pretty simple actually. Just division. All we'll need is a division with as background. I'm using animate right here, and as previously, we will again just create one space. Now let's go to CSS and do the styling. So the most of it is as same as the white one, so I will just copy the code, and you can just copy it from right here or copy it from the source code that I have given below. So these are the basic styling. Let's see if anything shows up. Not right now. So all right, for now what I will do is just create a very high right position so that you can see this box. Why am I saying this? Oh, it has no width, so that's why. Oh no, it does. It has two widths. Did I forget the color? I guess I did. Let's see. I don't know, red. Need that. So this is the box we have just created, which we named background. Now let me just hide it completely inside the white box. As you can see, it's completely hidden, but it's right there. The reason why, and you probably know this, but the reason why the white box is up is because we gave it a very high G index value right here. All right, now so now let's get to the meat of the matter. Now let's see how we can use that input checkbox X to make this box really to make the background circle very, very big. Now so we have this input. So what we'll do is, so when that our checkbox, that is the input checkbox that we have named checkbox, it has a property called checked. So when it is checked, now put this sign, the sign that is on the left side of one in your keyboard, and you have to press shift and that button to get this sign. I think it's called equivalent or something like that. So have this thing, and then so what this means is, when this checkbox is checked, I want something happen to some other element. Now what is that some other element? It's the background. So when that input is checked, what do I want the background to happen? I want the background to be enlarged. So what I will do is, I will transform it, scale it to be very, very big. Let's say 50 times big. Now let's see if that works. So when I click it, it's not working for some reason. Let me see. I think we are missing the transition property. Let's see, transition all. Let's go with 3 seconds for now. Let me see. Oh yes, right. So it is not class, it's actually ID. So that is what was my mistake. You guys might have already found it. So let's see if it works now. You see that? Did you see that? I hope you already have got this cool CSS effect. If not, check it with the source code, and I know you will get it. I think it's getting very big for now. Let's just for checking purposes have it a little small, and I think 3 seconds is too much. Let's go with 2 seconds. Now let's see. You see that? So to make it look a little bit better, so now that's the basic input checkbox X. So when you click the label, the input is checked. So and when the input is checked, you can have different styles applied to the to its sibling classes. Now if you want to apply to an element that is not a sibling, then you have to at first target its sibling, and then only you can target the sibling's child. Now we won't be needing that right now. So what we will be doing now is make this look a little better, because red doesn't really look good. So I will be applying a radial gradient such that there is a lighter color in the center and a very dark color at the end. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Radial gradient, gradients, and I have already chosen the 2 colors. So first color will be a light one that will show up at the center of the circle, and second will be a little darker one that will show at the end of the circle. Let's see how that looks. Again, it's not working. This shouldn't have created any problems, but let's see. So okay, so it's not background color now, it has to be background image, only then it will work. See that? It has already started working. So let me refresh the page for you, and let me also maybe, I don't know, slow the circle speed, fast the circle speed, sorry. Let's see it's working. Now let me just fill the whole thing with it. So I think scaling around 40 times would be good. Okay, a little bit space is left, so let's go with 50. Okay, that's a charm. It works beautifully. See that? It works both sides. Now we will apply something called a cubic-bezier. Now what it does is it kind of varies the speed of the transition. So that circle seems as if at first it's coming really fast, then it slows down a little bit, and then again it goes really fast. So I have already picked a cubic-bezier value. Let me copy it, and the value is right here. Now if you look carefully, you will see the difference, if any at all. What's the problem? Okay, now it's simply a typo. Let me remove this. Are we good? Yes, we're good. Let's see. See that at first it's really fast, then it's slow. Let me speed that up so that you can see. You see how at first it's fast, then it's slow, and again it goes fast. So that's the effect, and it's the same for coming back. So that's the very cool CSS effect that I was talking about. Now let me have this back to 1 second. So I hope you have this effect by now. Now what I want to do is, like as I previously showed, I want these 3 lines to be converted to a cross. Now let's do that when the input is checked, obviously. So what we will do is, so when the input is checked, I want that the bars to kind of go at an angle. So let me show what I'm talking about. So again, when the checkbox is checked, what I'll do is, so what I want is, I want to affect these bars, right? But it's inside the button. So at first I have to target the button, and then only I can target the bars. So what I mean is, at first I had to target the buttons, then only I can target the bars. So if I show you the, let me see, the original example. So if you look at it carefully, right now it's 3 lines, then it goes to 2 lines. So we would be hiding one of the lines, and so this is our code right here. So what we would do is, this bars is the actual middle line, right? The top one is the before and the last one is the after. So what I will do is just simply make its heights 0. Let's see if that works. It sure does. Now all we have to do is make these other bars just go at an angle. Sorry for the pop-up. Now let me copy this. So the bars, I think it is bars before, right? Yes, it's before. So bars before, what I want to happen is not height 0 this time. I want to transform it and rotate it at around 40 degrees. Again, this is a tested value, it works. And let me see that, right? See that how it went down. All right, so let me kind of perfect it a little bit. So what I'll do is, now I will make it a little thick, so height of 2 pixels, and now I want it to start at the top. So what I'll do is just stop 0. Same for the our after. So what I'll do on the after is rotate it by minus 40 degrees. Let's see how that looks. See that? Now let me show you what would have happened if we didn't apply the top 0. You see that it doesn't start at the same position, but when we apply the top 0, it starts at the same position and create this beautiful cross. Now you see that. Very cool, right? Now let's see what's left. Now we need to create all these nav links and make it as if it's coming out of that cross. Now let's do that. Now for HTML, I'll just copy the code because it's just basic UL with an li. So let me copy the nav links. It's right here. Now let me apply some basic styling to all the elements inside it. So nav links, and the UL is called list, and each item is called nav item. Let me style that real quick. So let's start with nav links. I want everything to have a color of text color of white, so let me do that at the top. And after that, what I'll do is let's attack the nav individual nav item. For this, I will have no list style, so that dot thing before the every individual item is disappears, none. So that's all of those dots before the elements are gone. Let me have a font family of simply sans serif, nothing specific, and font size of 3 rem. Let us go with the latest spacing of 0.1 m and a margin bottom of, again, 1 rem. Let's see how that looks. Looks pretty good, right? So now it is supposed to be shown only when we click this, right? So at first let me hide it. Now I can't do display none because that way I can't change to the input area. So what I will simply do is just make the opacity of this nav links 0. That way it is disappeared. So as you might have already guessed, what we will do is the checkbox is checked. We'll simply attack the nav links and make its opacity 1. And since we want this to show at the top, let's have a very high G index. Now let's see if that works. So when I click it, you see, we can see that. Look around this area carefully. You see that? But the problem is our background is kind of overlapping it. So the way we solve it is just give it an absolute position. Position absolute, top 0. You see that? Now it's working. Pretty cool, right? So now what we need to happen is we want this to be at the center, right, at the end, because it's supposed to be at the center, right, at the end. So let's keep it at the center, and I will show you a very cool trick, a very cool way around, or a trick that you can do in CSS to keep an element exactly at the center of an element. So what we will do is, so when the opacity is 1, the position will still be absolute, but from top we will go down 50%, and from the and you know, like just like we went top 50% from the top, we'll also go 50% from the left. Let's see how that works. You see that? But it is not the center. You know why? Because this area is actually the center, because if you look at carefully, this area is center, but we want this whole thing to be at the center, right? So the trick is you just transform and translate it by 50%. So what you can do is transform, translate X position by 50%. That is, you know, like change is 40 horizontal position and bring it 50% forward, and likewise the same with the Y position and bring it 50% up. That way you see that it's exactly at the center. Now the only thing that's left to do is make it as if it's coming from here. So for that, what we'll do is, at first what we will do is provide this nav links with our transition value. Transition all take 1.4 seconds. Let's see. You see that? Now it's doing some weird stuff right now because we have different positions, but what we would do is make it start from this area. So from left, let's have a very high value so that it will initially be at this position. So since it will go at the center, let's have a very the top would be 0 obviously because it's coming from the top, and let's have a left value of around 100 gram so that it will complete, so that it will go very far from the left side and completely to the right side where our white box is. Now let's see if that works. So when I click it, you see that? Now sometimes what happens is our nav links that has a very high Z index might overlap this white box. So what we will do is, so what is our white box? It is the label. So let's give this label a very high Z index value, and our label is called button. So where is our dot button? Give it a very high, I don't know, 3500 and stuffs. That way it is always a cursor, that it is always a button that we can click and it doesn't overlap anything. So let's click it. See that? How beautiful that is. So that is how you create this cool navbar by using CSS. Now if you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more great content, and if you were confused, if you didn't understand anything, if you want to me to review some of your code, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll make sure I reply to you.